That's the thing. I mean, I'm a member of EU Parliament. I'm a German. And you kind of think I wouldn't have my hands full, and taking care of things over there. But the thing is, we are no longer talking about, individual countries. I mean, like I said before, every single Western democracy, they're in lockstep. So this is a global threat we're dealing with, and it's affecting every single Western democracy.
Yep.
So, and that means I will fight for freedom, democracy, and the rule of law in every single country.
Ladies and gentlemen, Eva Chipiak, one of the hottest lawyers out of Alberta. She's one of the cutest and she's one of the brightest. Eva, ask Christine. This is a little Q&A with Christine and Eva. One moment. Eva Chipiak.
Thank you. What an introduction. My goodness. So I have a few questions for you, Christine, and hopefully the audience will be interested in hearing as well. So I think we all had a feeling when we saw what was starting with the Freedom Convoy and moving throughout the country. So when you saw that, Christine, can you please tell us what you thought? I know it gave me so much hope. I would get chills on my arms and I would just be inspired. And I was like, that's it, we've got this. But is that what you felt, or can you tell me what you thought?
That's exactly what I felt. And that's why I'm so appreciative of what you guys actually pulled off over here, because that's what the people all around the world needed. And seeing that, it actually did remind me of what happened in '89 in the other part of Germany back then. Suddenly there were these people, and they just took the street, and they just defied the dictatorship. And they actually did go to prison for just being on the street and holding a placard and saying Honecker, go home or whatever. That actually happened. And as I said earlier, a lot of these people, they just kind of disappeared in their family. They didn't hear for weeks where they were, what happened to them. So that's exactly when I saw the Freedom Truckers getting their trucks ready, rolling all over the country. That was just, exactly the kind of power that the people need to just combine and defy their governments. And I was just talking to someone earlier. I don't know if you know this, in ancient Rome, there was this one day a senator, he had this brilliant idea, and he wanted to make the slaves more readily identifiable. And he came up with this idea to have them wear white armbands. And they were debating that in the Senate. And then another colleague said, are you nuts? If we put on white armrests on their arms, then they will realize how many of them there are. And that's exactly what happened with the Freedom Truckers. Suddenly people saw, they're not no French minority. It's a lot of them. And that resonated throughout the world. And suddenly there were a lot of people. And that is what we have going for us. We are many, and they're just a few.
Here.
So just kind of crush them.
Loved it, and I think a lot of people in this room feel the same way. So, what happened in Ottawa, you all saw it on social media, because what the news was saying was completely out to lunch. And although it was a good time and the energy was amazing, people, I don't think, rolled into Ottawa to have a party. They went there to, what was it? Have a dialogue with their government. And the only people that came to talk to the protesters were on a local level, Ottawa. But that wasn't why the truckers and the protesters came to Ottawa. So Christine, I asked the Prime Minister something like this, and I'd like to ask you, maybe you can tell us, because the Prime Minister didn't help explain to Canada when and why is he so afraid of his own citizens. Maybe you can give us your thoughts on that.
Because he's a coward.
Well, it's really sad, an elected prime minister actually being afraid of his own citizens. How pathetic is that?
Here, here.
Reason-
Exactly the way it should be.
But the reason that he is afraid of his own citizen, as is any other leader in the Western world are afraid of their own citizens, is because they know perfectly well in order to implement their sick dystopian agenda, they will have the citizens at their backs. And that's why they're afraid of them. And there is a writer in Germany, and he once said, well, if the government doesn't like the citizens anymore, then maybe the government should elect a new people. And that's exactly what is happening here. Obviously, they cannot elect a new people. Well, in Europe, they kind of do that right now by, importing millions and millions and millions of people who I don't even know what the hell they want there. Anyway, but that's, they're kind of doing that. But the point is this, they are afraid because they fully well know how many people there are. And they better be afraid. And that's actually, if the government is afraid of the people, then you live in a democracy. But if the citizens are afraid of government, you live in tyranny. And we will try to prevent that.
That leads me into my next and last question for you. I know, you're on the stand, and you're giving me much better answers than the Prime Minister did. You liar pants. So, the truckers started the movement, and it was a movement across Canada, and that ignited throughout the world. They really, really put in their part, so much so that some are being sued for $400 million. Some are still facing jail time. And yesterday we got the report on the Public Order Emergency Commission. I think some of us had hope with that. And in some way I feel maybe it was a good thing it went that far, because I think, again, it's going to open the eyes of more and more Canadians. But my question to you is, and it might be putting you on the spot, is what shall we do now? I have some ideas, so don't think I've given up, but I just like to hear what are some of your thoughts on moving forward?
Well, what do we do now? The ruling came down, was all necessary. So we cannot really rely on the courts either, because, they pretty much sanctioned all the restrictions and, said it was necessary and all of that. When we all know, no, it wasn't. So what do we do now? Yeah, well, that's actually a good question. What we have been doing is, stand up to these corrupt, unscrupulous governments and the globalitarian elites. And we just have to keep calling them out on their BS. And what we really need to do is, as I said earlier, try to get people involved. But, do not slam them with information, because they are not there where you are yet. So that kind of, tends to scare them off, because it takes time, because it's so hard to recognize and realize that you have been fooled and that you have been betrayed. So that really, it's hard to admit that you have been stupid enough to fall for the government's BS. But the people need to get there, and they are getting there. But do not slam them, just kind of be appreciative if they do start asking questions, or, they're kind of beginning, to become critical of government. So do not jump on that. Let it sink in. Let them come to their own conclusion. Another thing, of course, we could be doing, write to your elected MEPs. They all have emails. Hello. Flood their email accounts. Literally email bombs. That's what I'm talking about. And let them know that you will never, ever vote for anyone ever again that were in favor of these restrictions, that supported Trudeau or whatever. Call them out on it and make sure that they understand they no longer have your vote. Get other people to write emails to them. And seriously, I'm not talking about 1, 2, 3, make it 1,000, 10,000, 1,000,000 emails.
Exactly.
Get it going. And another thing, very important, turn off your freaking television set.
Thank you so much. I'll leave the floor to others, but I just wanted to add to that with sending emails. I would encourage people to send in letters, but also do it publicly because they're reading all of your
100%.
tweets.
Absolutely.
So, call them out publicly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emma. All right, I've got a gentleman here, yeah, okay, gentleman here, gentleman there. Gentleman here, please come forward, and then I have a gentleman there, and then everybody settle down. Settle down. All right.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being a voice to the world. My question is, I want to go back before COVID to, I want to call it the pilot project of CO2 and the attack. Germany came here wanting some LNG. Our Prime Minister sent away. Thanks so much for calling them out and telling them we shouldn't speak to the European Council. I agree with that, and Canadians are grateful for that. But with your traveling and your connections around the world, where do you see this wokeism and this attack on climate change and stuff? Where's it going to erupt? Like, we've seen it, pop up, and again, it was great a year ago, but where are we here in Canada today? We don't have that momentum, that enthusiasm. Where do you think the break is going to come, where we're going to have a leader of a country actually say that CO2 is plant food? It's not the mechanism causing climate change. Climate's always been changing, but where do you think that breakthrough is going to come to lead the rest of us in the Western world?
Saskatchewan. I'm telling you,
I think
it's where it's happening.
it is working for now because people have not realized what effect this will actually have on their everyday life. So let's start with teenagers. As I said earlier, if your teenage kids are all for, fighting climate change, well, seize their phones, turn off their TV set. They want to go shopping, you walk, because we want to save the planet. So that might work with teenagers. Another thing is, people simply do not realize what that actually means. I mean, they are kind of feeling good, oh, we are saving the planet, and, we're all determined to save the planet. But what does that actually mean? Let me give you some numbers. During the first COVID lockdown that happened in Germany, at least, from was like end of March until like August. Okay, so we're talking about 3-4 months. During these 3 to 4 months, we had actually a reduction in carbon dioxide emission of 4.6% globally. So that was like the biggest drop of carbon dioxide emission in 60, 70, 80 years. All right, 4.6% drop because we locked it all down. People were at home. No one was going to work. So, but in order to meet the climate goals, we would need a reduction of 7.8% reduction. And just make the people see what that actually means. And we're not talking about 3 or 4 months. We are talking about every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. No one going to work, no one driving a car, no one doing anything. Is that the kind of life we want? And is that the kind of society in prosperity they're promising us? So that might be a way to go. To just make people see what it actually means.
Mass starvation and famine.
Hey, Liz,
ladies and gentlemen, I've got about 4 more questions, so I know you all wanna like line up or like around the room, but we got a few more questions, and then we really will get you an opportunity to speak with Christine yourself. Don't be afraid. She clearly does not bite. Tony. Well, she might bite, like, be careful. Keep a distance, keep safe.
My name is Tony Hall. Christine, you are in a way an embodiment of this international movement, which starts with resistance to the COVID mandates, restrictions, and then grows and grows to a critique of all elected officials in the world who fail to do their jobs. Now, in a political movement, you want allies. You've got to make alliances, strategic alliances. And we're not just anywhere in the province of Alberta right now. We're in the petroleum zone. And that's a very major world industry based right here in this place. And they have been screwed by the Trudeau government, by the federal government. And it seemed when I heard you were speaking here, it seemed to be a natural marriage, a merger, that why wouldn't we marry our movement with the people in the energy industry that are being sidelined and marginalized and downside and impoverished, and all the people in this province that are impoverished. So what do you think about an alliance with the other sectors of the world community and the economic sphere that are being harmed by this abysmal movement, which is trying to kill us, evil us, disempower us, impoverish us, etc.?
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for this. The thing is just, this, this movement, it was really, up until now, it was a people's movement. And when I look at the industry in Germany, oh gosh, they're so fallen for it. They're old vogue and, tolerance and respect and the whole shebang. I mean, I don't know of a single country in Germany that does not proudly flag, the rainbow flag. And I actually think they get more customers by, going for this narrative, this virtue signaling. So that's where the people, once again, on the other hand, come in. Do not shop in stores anymore that have a rainbow flag up. Do not go to stores anymore that put out these unvaccinated, not welcome signs. Do not go there anymore. You have the power. And once the industry realizes that the power actually does lie with the people, and only the people, because they hate to see their profits dwindle, that's where we need to get them. And once they realize they are really at the mercy of the people, where they should be, rightly so, then maybe there's a chance that the industry will actually come around. I'm kind of seeing that right now. Because especially we're talking about the petroleum industry and all of that. Yeah, they're hurting when they're trying to implement these climate goals and all that BS. So yes, they are hurting, but they're not quite there yet. So we need to make sure we get them to the point where they will recognize that it is all about the people and no one else.
Yes.
Here we have a foreign politician answering more questions than our own politicians. Right? Imagine that.
Hi, Christine. My name is Bob Leon. I'm the Director of Strategy for the Independence Party of Alberta. You spoke of oil. Thank you. I come from very humble beginnings, and it was through oil lifted me up. We were very poor, and that's why I got involved in politics. And I'm just an average guy. Never in a million years would I think I would be here today, but I've learned this last 3 years have been a great awakening for me. It truly has. Especially in meeting people like Mark Friesen and understanding the UN Sustainable Development intimately. But my concern is not enough people are aware of how it came to our nation and our province. That is a concern, and that's the article I handed to you today. And it is all the evidence of how it came here. And so my question to you, and that's what I want to ask you today, is do you understand who brought it here, which politicians, which parties brought it to our nation and province?
Well, if you're asking me about specific parties, no, I don't, because I'm not that familiar with, you know, the Canadian politics. And plus, it works like completely different in Europe. But the thing is this, so the parties that are in play right now, they actually do not matter. Because they're just, you know, the puppets of whoever is pulling the strings. And it's not even Klaus Schwab either. He is just a puppet himself.
Right.
I do not know
Yes.
who the people actually are who are calling the shots and who are pulling the strings. If I
Rockefeller.
knew, I would tell you, but I don't. And that's the thing.
Rothschild.
So we're not talking about any
The
specific
bankers.
party or any specific government. I mean, even the elected governments, let's be honest, are all puppets. I mean, seriously, you look at the Ursula von der Leyen, well, she's just, you know, doing it. So that's the thing. So it would be really interesting to actually identify who are the ones behind the scenes. They never show their faces to camera. You don't, I mean, they might, you know, might even be among us tonight, but we wouldn't know. We simply don't know. So we
do.
need to identify who is behind this. And I would say bet it's probably not more than 20 people. That's it. 20 people max. But look at the network they have surrounding them, all the governments pretty much, you know, and everyone, and, you know, the elected representatives, and all they crave for is to be part of the club. Yeah, they want to be part of the club. Well, hello. So, but like, we need to identify the people who are behind this, and to this day, I have not been able to do so.
We know who
And
they are.
maybe that should be our next project, to find out who are these people pulling the strings, calling the shots, because their agenda is really dystopian. It's to impoverish all the people, enslave them, and to make them, you know, part of a malleable mass. They can just be moved from point A to point B to do whatever they're told. So maybe we should be working on that as our next project. Thank you.
That very important job of mothering her children who are on the phone. We'll ask the next person up and ask their question.
Thank you, Christine. So on behalf of the Freedom Restoration Canadians and the Unity Group, which is 450 members in Unity and Freedom Rising, thank you. Your message is same as Rainer Polish. He says, we have to educate, inform one person at a time, which is, you know, incredible. That's the path we have to take. So in your crystal ball, with all this information that you've gathered, what do you think the timeline is of this evil against good fight to end, and how do you think that's going to happen? Thank you.
I will.
Tough one. Tough one. I can't give you a timeline. What I do see, however, is they are stepping up their game. And just, you know, looking like 5 years back, I would have never figured, I mean, I kind of did see what was coming, but I would have never figured it was going to come back quickly. So that is a bad sign for us, but it's also a good sign, because that shows they are awfully nervous.
Desperate.
Because they know they're running out of time. And that's why they have to step up their game. They need to get everything, you know, going right now, which in turn then they tend to once again completely overplay their hand. And then more people will wake up, because that's, you know, it's quite obvious. But I would really be hard pressed to give you a timeline on that, because I don't know how nuts they're gonna get. I really don't.
My question is a two-parter. So the first one is, at the European Forum that you were at, we all heard that when Trudeau got up to speak, a vast number of people left. I'd like to know if that's true. And secondly, would you please honor us with that famous phrase that we all
Okay. The first part of your actually would not be a fair statement to say that a lot of MEPs left in protest when he began speaking. Because the point is this, they never even bothered to show up in the first place. I'm serious. Usually when a world leader, which I think Trudeau considers himself to be a world leader, right? When a world leader speaks in a house, the house is packed because everybody wants to hear it. But on that day, I was like, God, that was so pathetic. I mean, were 70, 80 MEPs were actually there. So, and of that 70, 80 people, and the thing is, I actually made an effort to listen to what he had to say. Because, to attack it later and blah, blah, blah. But gosh, I was so boring. And I was sitting there and I was suffering. I was like, what is this guy even talking about? And it was really hard. It was really hard. So, and once it was finished, it was so numbing, his entire demeanor and all. It was so numbing. I couldn't even get myself up to at least booing over it. It wasn't even worth that much. But the thing is this, so of these 70, 80 MEPs that actually were present, well, that's the standing ovation you got, just to give you a perspective. Okay, out of 705 MEPs, only 70, 80 showed up in the first place. And out of these 70, 80 MEPs, only 30, 35 actually got up and, gave him this, brilliant and phenomenal standing ovation. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. That was a major flop. And just, seeing him, how he received his standing ovation, that said it all. That face was priceless.
Mm.
Hi, Christine. My name is Deidre, and I am from a farming family, and just kind of wondering what is going on with our German farmers and how are they doing and how are they combating everything that's going on over there.
Say it again. I was kind of phasing out right now, so.
German farmers, how are they doing and how are they combating all of the mandates that are coming down government's way on them?
Okay, so in Germany, it's not quite as bad yet as in the Netherlands, for instance. They're really crushed down on them. So a lot of farmers had to, give up 50, 60% of their cattle because they were farting too much. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. The cows are farting, and it's this big impact on whatever. So they had to do that, and then they came up with these zonings in the Netherlands, meaning that if you had a farm in a particular zone, and it's completely arbitrary, these zones, they were no longer allowed to operate a farm in that zone. So they were given the opportunity to resettle. Yeah, it's so easy to just pack up a farm. Yeah, right. So resettle. So they did that only then to find out that where they wanted to resettle to, well, guess what? They weren't allowed to get a license over there too to run a farm. So that has been really detrimental, especially on the Dutch farmers. And I'm kind of, over here in Canada, they're trying to do that too. And in Germany, there is, some things going in that direction. But make no mistake, just because they started in Netherlands and, possibly here in Canada, it does not mean they will not pull through with this in every single country. Because that is part of their game, that's part of their plan. Deprive the people of their food supply. And, the prices, they go way up there. And then you are at the mercy of the government. And then guess what? They have a plan for that. These 15-minute communities or this Neom city in Saudi Arabia, you just move there, it's climate neutral, it's all good in the middle of the desert, nowhere to run. And you are on a 3-meal-a-day subscription. Oh, that's just perfect. So what if I don't agree with my government? Will I get my meals that day? Probably not. And if I don't, a cave in tomorrow, I probably won't get any food then either. And like I said, in the middle of the desert, and it's supposed to house 9 million people, oh, that's just perfect. But that's where they're going. And, a lot of people, I've been talking about this for quite some time now, and a lot of people always accuse me of a conspiracy theorist or whatever. Just think about this. We really need to come up with new conspiracy theories because all the old ones have turned out to be true by now.
I wasn't supposed to let anybody else talk after the woman in the leopard shirt, but we have one last question, and she's coming up with a glass of wine for Christine.
See, that's how you do it, guys.
I just thought I would represent Alberta by toasting this lady. Can we raise our I told you earlier tonight that you're my hero. I am raising a 6-year-old little girl that is more independent than I've ever seen. She's fierce. She learned about Remembrance Day, and she said, "Mom, our soldiers fought for our freedom." And when the convoy came to Ottawa, she set up all her little animals down the hallway, and I never took them down, not for one day. The dust bunnies made me crazy, I'll tell you that. I'm proud to be Canadian. I've always been proud to be Canadian. I've been disappointed in what I've seen. What I learned in school, I felt was real in my grade 8 history class. What do I tell my daughter today? Because I'm having trouble being as proud as I once was.
And that's exactly where they want you.
Yep.
They don't want you to be proud of your country anymore. They want to take that away from you.
Yep.
And in Germany, it's like you wouldn't be caught dead saying you're proud to be German, because then you're a Nazi for sure, So, but this is the thing. Do not let anyone tell you what you can and cannot be proud of. And you guys have so much reason to be proud of your country. Celebrate it, take it in, and don't let anyone tell you you are not allowed to be proud of your country. Your country is beautiful. So be proud of it, for God's sake.
Here, here.
Thank you very much. That's a beautiful note to end on. Stacey, you have to come out here with me. My name is Judy Stinson. I am one of the 3 women who traveled to Europe to meet Christine. I was really lucky. I had 2 meetings.
It chased me down.
We met with her in Strasbourg, France. There's a European Union Parliament in Strasbourg, and we call it the EU Parliament. We don't call it the European Parliament, which is what the sign on the door says. But just to be clear, if you're calling it the European Parliament, well, there is no, Europe is not a country, and we're pushing back on that one. But we met with Christine in Strasbourg, Beth and me, and then Stacey and I, we had a Freedom Doctors Conference in Vienna and an alternative media conference, and then we traveled to Amsterdam. And we met with Christine a second time. Stacey was very persistent. And it was incredible. I think our meeting was set for 2:00, and I think we left you at about 11:30, didn't we?
Yeah, just about.
You look like sisters.
But Christine had wanted to come in July on Canada Day to say thank you to you all and express her gratitude. But it ended up not working out, and here we are. So we want to thank Christine and Max from the bottom of our hearts for having faith in us, for believing in us that Alberta strong, Alberta free. This was the place to start the tour. We thank you to Karen and Candace for helping us. They helped us so much. And there's someone who does not want to be thanked, but that person knows who they are. And we want to thank you. I mean, this is all about you. And I think what the beautiful thing about the group of us here together, we come from all different walks of life, from farming and the oil industry and doctors and lawyers and everything else in between. And you people have made this tour what it is. And we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for that. Thank you so much.
Basically, I went to try and rent a car to meet Christine Anderson, and my driver's license was expired. And the first thing I said to Judy was like, "Can you drive fast? Because if I can't get there, I'm calculating how long it will take me to crawl along the highway to get to Christine, because this was always my destiny." And I found out afterwards, Bethany called your assistant, and she was like, "I don't know where my girlfriends are. Do you know where Stacy and Judy is?" And PR said, "Is it possible they went out for dinner with Christine?" And Bethany was, absolutely, that's where Stacy is. She is with Christine the entire night. Christine is Stacy's sister, and we joked about it. But when I came home, I looked up Christine's birthday. She has the exact same birthday as my sister. Max has the exact same birthday as my niece. So this is fate. She is my sister. I'm claiming her in front of all of you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Just want to thank Precious Metals and Tina from Platinum Floral Design. She actually flew here, donated all the flowers, and with her mother, and set it all up because she couldn't not be near Christine. So we want to thank Tina and everybody who's
And here's one more toast to Canada, to Alberta, and most of all, the Canadian Freedom Truckers.
We have one last request, and that is a live performance of the phrase that you uttered in the European Union Parliament that starts with "please, comma."
As I said before, I say it again. Mr. Trudeau, you're a disgrace to any democracy. Please spare us your presence.
Can I give you a hug? Yeah, absolutely. That was phenomenal. Thank you. All my followers love you. All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to shut her down. I got to hit the road and head back home. All right. Check you later.